He's the man who went from having just $7 in his pocket to building one of the most powerful empires in the world. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is more than a wrestling icon, more than Hollywood's biggest action star. He's a brand, a businessman, and a billionaire in the making. From early WWE paydays to record-breaking movie salaries, from Beverly Hills mansions to his legendary Iron Paradise gym, and from global fitness lines to a tequila company valued in the billions, The Rock's wealth tells a story of relentless hustle and visionary moves. Yet behind the fame and fortune lies one asset that even his biggest fans didn't expect, a piece of his empire that reveals just how far ahead he thinks. This is the untold story of Dwayne Johnson's fortune: the homes, the cars, the tequila, the football league, and the twist investment that proves The Rock isn't just rich. He's unstoppable. Before the mansions, before the tequila empire, before Forbes crowned him Hollywood's highest-paid actor, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was broke. His story famously begins with just $7 in his pocket, a symbol he would later transform into one of the most powerful motivational brands in the world. But at the time, it wasn't a brand, it was reality. Born into a wrestling family, Dwayne grew up watching his father, Rocky Johnson, and his grandfather, Peter Mavia, carve out careers in the world of professional wrestling. But while the family carried legacy, money wasn't always secure. Dwayne's early years were turbulent, moving frequently, sometimes struggling to make rent, and often feeling the weight of financial instability. He's spoken openly about moments when his family was evicted, about fights outside of school, about nearly slipping down paths that could have ended the story before it began. Initially, Dwayne's dream wasn't wrestling, it was football. A standout defensive lineman at the University of Miami, he was part of a national championship winning squad and seemed destined for the NFL. But destiny had other plans. After going undrafted, Johnson signed with the Calgary Stampeders in the Canadian Football League. His salary? Just a few $100s a week, barely enough to survive. 2 months later, he was cut. His dream was gone, his money was gone, and he was living back in a tiny apartment with almost nothing to his name. That infamous $7 was all he had left. It was in that moment of failure that Dwayne Johnson made a decision that would change his life. With encouragement from his father and mentor Pat Patterson, he turned toward professional wrestling, a business he had once resisted. In 1996, Johnson signed with WWE, then WWF, debuting as the smiling babyface Rocky Mavia. The character was pushed heavily by the company, but fans rejected him. Chants of "Die, Rocky, die" filled arenas. For many, this would have been the end. For Dwayne, it was the beginning. He reinvented himself as The Rock, a brash, charismatic, trash-talking heel who oozed confidence and energy. Within months, the crowd that had once booed him was hanging on his every word. The catchphrases, the eyebrow raise, the electrifying promos, The Rock became larger than life. With that transformation came money. WWE was entering its most profitable era, the Attitude Era, and The Rock was at the center of it. Merchandise sales skyrocketed. Every shirt, poster, and VHS tape with his name on it meant more money in his pocket. By the late 1990s, The Rock wasn't just a star. He was a multimillionaire, one of the company's biggest draws, second only to Stone Cold Steve Austin. His early fortunes were built in the ring, but his ambitions were bigger than wrestling. Because while wrestling gave him fame and money, Hollywood was about to make him rich beyond imagination. By the early 2000s, The Rock had conquered WWE. He had world titles, fan adoration, and millions in merchandise sales. But Dwayne Johnson wasn't content to be a legend in one industry. He wanted more. His eyes were set on Hollywood, a move that, at the time, few wrestlers had successfully made. His first real breakthrough came in 2001 with The Mummy Returns, where he played the Scorpion King. Though his role was limited, the character was memorable, so much so that Universal gave him his own spin-off film in 2002. The Scorpion King made history when Johnson was paid $5.5 million for his first leading role, setting a Guinness World Record for the highest salary ever for a first-time leading man. That paycheck proved one thing: The Rock wasn't just a wrestler dabbling in movies, he was a box office draw. Over the next few years, Johnson carefully built his Hollywood resume. He took on action films, films: The Rundown, Walking Tall, comedies, Be Cool, Tooth Fairy, and even family-friendly roles that helped broaden his appeal. Each role didn't just add to his bank account, it added to his reputation. He was no longer just a wrestler. He was a legitimate movie star. But Hollywood is a brutal business. Many athletes turned actors fade after one or two roles. Johnson avoided that fate by diversifying early. He wasn't afraid to poke fun at himself in comedies, wasn't afraid to experiment with roles outside his comfort zone. And, most importantly, he was relentless. He worked constantly, sometimes releasing 2 or 3 films in a single year. That work ethic, born in the wrestling grind, became his Hollywood advantage. By the mid-2000s, Dwayne Johnson was commanding $10 to $15 million per film. He wasn't at the top of Hollywood's salary ladder yet, but he was climbing fast. And then came the role that turned him from star to megastar, joining the Fast and Furious franchise. With Fast 5 in 2011, Johnson injected new life into the already popular series. His portrayal of DSS agent Luke Hobbs was a smash hit with audiences. And suddenly, The Rock wasn't just another actor in Hollywood, he was one of the most bankable stars on the planet. Fast 5 grossed over $600 million worldwide, and subsequent films with Johnson pushed box office totals even higher. The money followed. By the mid-2000s, The Rock was regularly earning $20 million per role, placing him on Forbes' list of highest-paid actors year after year. Endorsements, production credits, and back-end box office deals padded those numbers even further. But acting alone wasn't enough for Dwayne Johnson. He didn't just want to be in movies, he wanted to dominate Hollywood. And soon, his paychecks weren't just big, they were record-breaking. By the late 2000s, Dwayne Johnson had become Hollywood's most bankable name. His movies were global events, and his paychecks reflected it. In films like Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and its sequel, Jumanji: The Next Level, Johnson not only earned massive salaries, but also secured back-end points, a share of the film's profits. With both films grossing nearly $1 billion worldwide, Johnson's take-home pay wasn't just $20 million up front. It included tens of millions more on the back end. Disney, too, came calling. For his role in Jungle Cruise, Johnson was paid a reported $22 million, plus a slice of box office and streaming revenue. Netflix joined the bidding war, paying him $23.5 million for Red Notice, making him one of the highest-paid actors in the history of the platform. By this point, The Rock wasn't just topping Forbes' list once, he was holding the crown for multiple years in a row, with annual earnings exceeding $80 to $90 million. But what truly set Johnson apart wasn't just the size of his paychecks. It was his ability to control the business of Hollywood itself. In 2012, he co-founded 7 Bucks Productions, named after the moment he had just $7 left. The company produces nearly all of his films, giving him both creative control and a share of production profits. This move turned Johnson from an actor for hire into a Hollywood mogul. He wasn't just cashing checks, he was writing them, and his empire extended beyond movies. Johnson leveraged his Hollywood fame into endorsements and brand partnerships worth millions. From his Under Armour Project Rock line, which includes clothing, footwear, and gym gear, to sponsorships with Ford, Apple, and major beverage companies, Johnson's face became a global brand. Each deal wasn't just about money, it was about expanding his empire into every corner of lifestyle culture. Forbes began speculating whether Johnson could become Hollywood's first billionaire actor, and with good reason. His earnings weren't just from one source, they were diversified across films, merchandise, endorsements, and businesses. He had turned his name into a multinational brand, as valuable as some corporations. But the story doesn't stop with Hollywood, because while movies made him rich, it was his investments outside of entertainment, in real estate, gyms, tequila, and even football, that made him a true empire builder. And the first visible sign of that empire was in the homes he built across America. If Hollywood made Dwayne Johnson rich, his homes show the world just how far he's come. Few celebrities have invested in real estate with the same range and flair as The Rock. His portfolio is vast, stretching from coast to coast, and each property tells a story, not just of wealth but of strategy. For years, Johnson's base was in Miami, Florida. Florida, where he owned a $3.4 million mansion, complete with 6 bedrooms, a home theater, and outdoor living spaces designed for entertaining. Miami wasn't just a lifestyle choice, it was also a hub for tax-friendly living, a common strategy for high-net-worth individuals. But Miami was just the start. In 2019, Johnson upgraded to a sprawling $9.5 million estate in Beverly Hills, California. This Mediterranean-style mansion sat on over 3 acres, with an 8,000-square-foot home boasting panoramic views, a tennis court, a custom gym, and even a music studio once owned by Paul Reiser. For Johnson, it wasn't just about luxury, it was about positioning. Beverly Hills placed him at the heart of the entertainment industry, making business meetings and productions a short drive away. But perhaps his most unique property is his Georgia farm estate. Purchased for $9 million, this property spans over 45 acres and includes a 14,000-square-foot mansion, a massive horse farm, and rolling pastures. The estate reflects Johnson's love of privacy, space, and family. It's a retreat far from the flashing cameras of Hollywood, where The Rock can live quietly with his wife and daughters. Yet even here, his empire is never far away. His Iron Paradise gym travels with him, ensuring his lifestyle brand is present wherever he lives. Over the years, Johnson has bought and sold multiple properties, flipping some for profit. His strategy is clear: buy prime real estate in desirable locations, upgrade or personalize them, and hold properties that provide both luxury and value. Unlike fighters or celebrities who blow fortunes on unsustainable purchases, The Rock's real estate empire is designed to last. And the common thread across all his homes? Each one includes space for the Iron Paradise, his personal gym brand. For Johnson, a mansion isn't complete without a state-of-the-art training facility. Because for The Rock, the gym isn't just where he builds his body, it's where he builds his empire. Dwayne Johnson's Iron Paradise is more than a gym. It's a global brand, a symbol, and one of the most unique parts of his wealth story. Wherever The Rock goes, whether he's on a film set in Atlanta, shooting in London, or relaxing in Hawaii, the Iron Paradise follows. Portable, customized, and fully equipped, his gym is as much a part of his identity as the eyebrow raise, or the catchphrase, "If you smell what The Rock is cooking." But Johnson turned this personal ritual into a business. In partnership with Under Armour, he launched Project Rock, a line of fitness apparel, footwear, headphones, and gear that draws directly from his Iron Paradise ethos. What started as a niche collaboration quickly exploded into one of Under Armour's best-selling collections. Limited drops often sell out within hours, sneakers fetch resale premiums, and the branding, complete with The Rock's signature bull logo, is instantly recognizable. The genius of Project Rock lies in authenticity. Fans know Johnson doesn't just slap his name on products, he wears them, trains in them, and promotes them organically. When The Rock walks into the Iron Paradise at 4 a.m. wearing his Project Rock gear, fans see it as proof of quality. That authenticity translates into sales, which in turn translates into millions in revenue. Analysts estimate that Project Rock generates tens of millions annually, with Johnson receiving a significant cut. But the Iron Paradise isn't just about merchandise, it's a brand philosophy. Johnson constantly posts workout videos from his gyms, inspiring millions of followers to embrace discipline and consistency. These posts aren't just content, they're marketing campaigns for his lifestyle empire. Every dumbbell lift and sweat-soaked shirt reminds fans that The Rock's wealth isn't luck, it's earned through relentless grind. What's remarkable is how Johnson has expanded his fitness brand without oversaturation. He doesn't push endless supplements or gimmicks. Instead, he focuses on quality partnerships, aligning with established companies and ensuring every product ties back to his personal story. This deliberate approach keeps his brand premium, not diluted. Yet even with all the millions pouring in from Project Rock, Johnson wasn't finished. His next venture would dwarf even his Hollywood salaries and lifestyle brands. It wasn't a movie role, a mansion, or even a gym. It was a bottle. Because when The Rock launched Teremana Teremana Tequila, he created not just a product, he created a billion-dollar empire. In 2020, Dwayne Johnson entered an industry already flooded with celebrity endorsements. Tequila, George Clooney, Michael Jordan, and countless others had put their names on bottles. But Johnson wasn't content to endorse. He wanted to own. That's how Teremana Tequila was born. Co-founded with business partners Danny Garcia and Jenna Fagnan, Teremana wasn't positioned as a vanity brand. It was crafted in small batches in Jalisco, Mexico, emphasizing authenticity and quality. The name itself, Teremana, means spirit of the earth, symbolizing its connection to tradition. And while the story was polished, the results were explosive. In its first year alone, Teremana sold over 300,000 cases, a staggering number for a new tequila brand. By 2022, that number had climbed to over 600,000 cases, putting it on track to rival, and potentially surpass, Clooney's Casamigos, which sold for $1 billion in 2017. Industry insiders estimate Teremana could eventually be worth several $billion, with Johnson holding a substantial equity stake. For Johnson, Teremana isn't just another income stream, it's the crown jewel of his business empire. While movie salaries fluctuate and merchandise depends on trends, alcohol is a long-term, recession-resistant market. By positioning Teremana as both premium and accessible, Johnson tapped into a wide audience, fans of his movies, fitness followers, and tequila enthusiasts alike. His marketing strategy is simple but genius. He promotes Teremana directly on his social media, where he has over 380 million followers. Every post featuring Teremana reaches an audience larger than most advertising campaigns. Johnson doesn't need to pay for billboards or commercials. His brand power is the marketing. Financial analysts suggest that if Teremana continues its current growth, Johnson's stake could make him a billionaire outright. Not just a wealthy actor, but one of the richest celebrities in the world. And perhaps most importantly, Teremana represents something bigger: independence. Johnson doesn't rely on studios, sponsors, or even Under Armour. He owns a product that people will continue buying long after his Hollywood career slows down. But as massive as Teremana is, The Rock's empire doesn't stop there. Because in 2020, in the middle of a pandemic, he made one of his boldest moves yet, buying an entire football league. And that venture could either cement his legacy or risk millions in losses. If movies and tequila weren't enough to prove Dwayne Johnson's ambition, his purchase of the XFL in 2020 cemented him as more than just an entertainer. Along with business partner Danny Garcia and investment firm Redbird Capital, The Rock acquired the bankrupt football league for $15 million. It was a bold move, especially given the XFL had already failed twice before, once in 2001 and again in 2020 when the pandemic shut it down. Most saw the league as cursed. Johnson saw an opportunity. For The Rock, the XFL wasn't just a business venture, it was personal. Football had once been his dream before the NFL passed him by. Buying the XFL was like reclaiming that dream on his own terms. But this time, it wasn't about being on the field. It was about being in the owner's box. The league relaunched in 2023 with 8 teams, broadcasting deals on ESPN and ABC, and The Rock himself as its face. His celebrity power alone gave the XFL more attention than any spring football league had ever received. Merchandise sold, viewership was solid, and while profitability is still a work in progress, the long-term vision is clear. Create a sustainable alternative to the NFL, one that could eventually become a feeder system or even a legitimate competitor. Financially, the XFL is a gamble. Running a football league costs tens of millions annually, and profitability won't come overnight. But Johnson isn't afraid of risk. He knows that if the XFL succeeds, its value could multiply exponentially. Even a partial success, such as building a developmental partnership with the NFL, could transform the $15 million purchase into something worth hundreds of millions. The XFL also fits neatly into Johnson's brand. It embodies grit, second chances, and resilience, all themes he's built his empire on. His involvement goes beyond financial backing. He shows up at games, hypes players on social media, and integrates the league into his larger motivational narrative. For fans, the XFL isn't just football, it's The Rock's football. Beyond Beyond the XFL, Johnson has dipped into other sports-related ventures, investments in fitness companies, potential stakes in esports, and partnerships tied to athlete development. Each one reinforces his image not just as an entertainer, but as a global sports mogul. But even with movies, tequila, real estate, and football under his belt, Johnson still holds assets that surprise even his biggest fans. Hidden among the obvious empires is a twist asset that proves The Rock isn't just thinking about today, he's thinking decades ahead. Because his most surprising wealth move isn't about fame at all, it's about legacy. Dwayne Johnson's empire is vast, but the twist asset in his portfolio isn't a blockbuster film or even a tequila distillery. It's his quiet but deliberate investment in media and technology ventures, industries that extend his influence beyond entertainment and into the future of global communication. Through $7 Productions, Johnson isn't just producing films, he's building intellectual property. Every documentary, reality show, or TV project his company creates is more than content. It's an asset. Ownership of stories, licensing rights, and digital distribution deals provide income streams that will continue long after Johnson steps away from acting. In a world where streaming dominates, owning content libraries can be as valuable as owning real estate. But Johnson's twist asset doesn't stop at entertainment. He has also positioned himself in tech-related partnerships, including apps focused on fitness, wellness, and fan engagement. By leveraging his massive social media following, over 380 million fans across platforms, Johnson turns every post into a potential launchpad for new ventures. Apps, digital communities, and branded technologies ensure that his brand extends beyond physical products into the digital age. Another surprising layer is Johnson's investment in philanthropy-driven businesses. While charity isn't traditionally considered an asset, Johnson has strategically tied his wealth to causes like children's hospitals, veteran support, and fitness initiatives. By doing so, he builds goodwill that strengthens his brand value. That brand equity, in turn, drives sales of tequila, merchandise, and films. It's a feedback loop where generosity doubles as long-term financial security. Why is this a twist? Because fans expect The Rock's fortune to come from obvious places: films, gyms, tequila, football. But the reality is that his most forward-thinking wealth lies in ownership of intellectual property and tech ecosystems. These aren't flashy, but they're resilient. They ensure Johnson's empire won't fade with Hollywood trends. It's the mark of a man who doesn't just want to be rich in his lifetime, he wants his brand, his name, and his influence to generate wealth for generations. And that brings us to the heart of his financial story. Not just what he owns, but what it all means. Because The Rock's wealth isn't just about numbers, it's about legacy. Dwayne Johnson's financial journey is one of the most remarkable transformations in modern history. From a broke athlete with $7 in his pocket to a man whose empire spans billions, The Rock's wealth is more than just money. It's a symbol of relentless perseverance. His story is different from most Hollywood stars. Many actors stumble into fame or ride a breakout role to fortune. Johnson built his empire brick by brick. Wrestling gave him millions. Hollywood gave him tens of millions. Tequila, real estate, and business ventures gave him hundreds of millions. And through it all, his brand, discipline, authenticity, and charisma amplified everything. Today, estimates place Johnson's net worth between $800 million and $1 billion, putting him on the cusp of becoming one of the few entertainers to achieve billionaire status. But the real number isn't just about assets, it's about influence. Johnson is not only a movie star or entrepreneur, he's a cultural force. His decisions ripple across industries, whether it's selling out Under Armour sneakers, breaking box office records, or legitimizing the XFL. Compared to other stars, Johnson stands apart. He's wealthier than most athletes, more entrepreneurial than most actors, and more global than most entrepreneurs. His fortune isn't tied to a single industry. It's spread across entertainment, fitness, alcohol, sports, and technology. That diversification ensures that even if one area falters, his empire thrives. But perhaps the greatest legacy of his wealth is inspiration. Johnson has turned his $7 story into a global mantra, motivating millions to chase their dreams. His fortune isn't just personal success, it's proof of what's possible. He embodies the idea that no matter where you start, with enough discipline, strategy, and resilience, you can build an empire. And as his businesses expand, as Teremana grows, as the XFL develops, and as $7 Productions creates new content, one thing is certain: The Rock's fortune isn't done growing. His wealth, like his career, is unstoppable. Because Dwayne Johnson isn't just one of the richest entertainers alive. He's a blueprint for building an empire from nothing.